White Sox fans. Alyssa Bergamini, your in-game host for your Chicago White Sox, and you are watching the best podcast on the south side of Chicago, South Burbs Hitmen. Make sure to tune in.
You're listening to the Ballroom Network. The following program is intended for all audiences. Welcome to the South Burbs Hitmen podcast with your hosts, Joe Mandel, Zimmerman, Vinnie Parise, and Chris Gonzalez. We're bringing you the White Sox coverage you need from the perspective of true Southsiders. Grab your Comiskey dog with an ice-cold beer and meet us in section 155. Everyone get on your feet for your South Burbs Hitmen.
Ball hit deep. Way back. You can put it on the board. Yes. Jimenez in the air. Left field. He's your hero tonight. Thanks, Cubs. Over the head of Jenks. Uribe charges throws. Out! And the White Sox have won the World Series. Alexei! Yes! 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 History! A perfect game by Mark Burley and what an unbelievable play by Dwayne Wise.
First pitch starts now.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to South Burbs Hitmen. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mandel, and I'm joined by my White Sox brothers in arms, Zimmerman, Vinnie Parise, and Chris Gonzalez. Gentlemen, it's been a week and change to forget. I kind of want to bury my hand in the sand and disappear. Before we bring on our special co-host for the night, I just got to go round table. How you all feeling, Vinny? People know that you're not happy. None of us are, but how you doing, bud?
You know, first part of grief is acceptance. I have accepted that 2022. I held on to hope. I did, because I believed, last year the Cardinals rattled off a bunch in a row and they got hot going to the playoffs. If it weren't for the Dodgers and the one-game wild card, they might, go deep. And no, that's not. I mean, the Guardians, they have a 5-game lead with 30-something games left, and the Twins are also ahead of them, and they play better. The White Sox don't look good. They're so injured. I no longer, going forward, until I flip, when I have no problem being made fun of for being a flipper, that's fine, whatever. As of right now, I am no longer invested in wins and losses. I just want to see the guys play well, get ready for next season. I am out on the 2022 Chicago White Sox in terms of wins and losses.
There you go. Well spoken, Vinny. Zimmerman from the Batcave. I know you live in a world of darkness, but so are your thoughts on the White Sox. Am I wrong?
No. I don't have anything else to say if you're waiting for me to expand on that. This team sucks outright. They suck.
All right. Well said, Zim. Gonzo, real quick thoughts before we bring on Tony.
Yeah, no, I have a little hope left. I mean, a week ago, Sox were 5 games above 500 with 1 game out of first place in the division, and now we are 5.5 games back. If there's one thing I can have hope for, it's just to go back a couple years ago when Rick Renteria blew a 6-game lead in the division the last week of the baseball season. So if that could happen, maybe it could be the turnaround for our chances to be on the other side of that. So that's something that I've seen done before and could do it again here.
Man, wouldn't that be sweet? But unfortunately, the guy they're up against is Terry Francona, who is just a little bit better than Ricky was,
Yeah, and they're a nice young team that actually has chemistry, unlike the White Sox. So I've lost my hope as well. But like Vinny said, I kind of want to see him play well. But while we all, sit in our misery, we might as well bring someone on to have fun and enjoy the misery together. And join me, guys, in welcoming Tony Marchese from Sox On Tap in the house. Tony, we cannot thank you enough for joining us tonight, man.
What's going on, gentlemen? Thanks for having me on. I figured I'd talk more White Sox baseball today. Sox are off. You can normally find me on the post-game shows over at Sox On Tap, but I just can't help myself. So I'm here to talk more baseball with you guys.
That's right. Hey, we appreciate the time, and here we are. This White Sox team just kind of in a free fall. You heard all of our initial thoughts at the top, Tony. How are you feeling right now about this White Sox team?
It took a lot to just make me get broken down over this team all year. I've been dubbed one of the more positive guys on the Sox On Tap show, which is not something that I normally get, the title of wearing throughout the course of a White Sox baseball season. However, for some odd reason this year, I've just hung with it, I think, a lot longer than everybody else has. I still believe in this team for some reason, but I've got to say, this is the most beat down that I've been all year. There's still a month of baseball left to be played. I love what Chris said. You'd be on the other end of that 6-game division lead being blown. I love hearing stuff like that because I want reasons to believe, because I think it's awesome that we're getting to watch meaningful baseball at this point in time in the year. Go back a couple of years and the ballpark starts to filter out about July. We're heading into September. It's nice to have meaningful baseball to be played. On the other end of the spectrum, I completely agree where there's a lot of people who are absolutely fed up with what they see day in and day out from this ball club. But at the end of the day, I want a reason to believe, as I say on my show all the time, I want it to be cinematic, and how much more cinematic can you get than them climbing back from the current deficit? So I don't know. Look at the glass half full at some point, I guess.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of in the same boat, but I gotta help but wonder. Vinny, you've seen Yasmani Grandal, going through a rehab assignment. He's raking down there without Frank Menachino. You see Jake Berger raking down there without Frank Menachino. How much of the problem is Frank Menachino, and how is he still employed?
Yeah, so I wrote today for South. It's funny you bring that up for Southside Showdown. I wrote a piece today about letting go of Frank Menachino, and I don't like doing that about anyone really. I started doing it about Tony at certain points last year, and then he kind of reeled me back in. And this year I've been out on him basically since May. Well, right around that same time I lost faith in Frank Menachino too. I think there's two things attributing to what's going on with the players in AAA though, as far as Grandal and Jake Berger. We've seen it with Romy Gonzalez too. All these guys go down to AAA. They have pretty good stints. The pitching's worse. Okay, so they're not facing major league pitching every single night like they are in the MLB. So obviously a guy like Grandal, who has a history of being one of the better offensive catchers going, is going to go down there and succeed. But it does make you wonder about their approach to the plate in the major leagues. And are they shooting for power more in AAA? Are they trying to hit more home runs? Are they going to hit doubles? And I honestly believe that is the case with the White Sox at the major league level. I think their approach is to put the ball in play rather than to try and drive it. And everybody has a nice batting average. What are they, 5th in the league in batting average? Batting average, crap stat. Been saying that for a long time. Everybody cares about OPS and home run totals now, and that's so much more important. I'd rather a guy get 2 doubles in a game than 4 singles. That's just my opinion. And that, it can prove to lead to more runs and whatnot. And if that's the case for the White Sox, that's a shame. They lead the league in singles and grounded to double plays. They're hitting the ball on the ground. They're hitting the ball on the ground a lot. I'd like to see a change made personally. If they brought Chris Johnson, I believe, is the hitting coach of the Charlotte Knights. Let's get him up at some point.
Yeah, and Tony, earlier in the year, we had Jake Berger on the show, and he talked about how much he loved, the hitting coach down in AAA and how the passing of the torch between him and Menachino was very clean. I don't know if it's just Jake talking because I don't see it. How do you feel about Menachino, Tony?
I guess at some point every, stat that starts to add up here about this guy has been somewhat troublesome. You look at, I forget who put it out on the internet just a couple of weeks ago, some of the worst hitting offenses in baseball. And you've got Menachino's stint here this year with the White Sox. You can go and pair two of the others with his time down in Miami. That could be, partially bad luck. But, I go back and I look at some of the injury history that some of the guys have had this year. You look at Eloy Jimenez with the knee, and is Frank Menachino going to be able to coach Eloy Jimenez to stay in the batter's box instead of leaving a baseball game? That hurts his team average, right? Luis Robert not being able to sustain a whole full season with this ball club is going to reflect poorly on Frank Menachino. I look at some of the other aspects. You had Danny Mendick come up here and just absolutely start raking throughout the year before he had succumbed to some injuries as well. The same way that, people want to argue about Ethan Katz and should he fix Lucas Giolito this season, you've got the same stuff going on over with Frank Menachino. But I would say personally at this time, if you're going to make some sort of change, go with Frank Menachino. Why not? Because the results right there with this offense have been absolutely poor. Outside of batting average, what do they excel at? Nothing in the offensive game has been something that you can say the White Sox excel at. Nothing. So grounding into double play, the wrong stats, the stats that you don't want to see yourself at the top of the leaderboard with. I don't know. You've got to do something. I would start probably right there. That's just my opinion on it. I don't know enough. Otherwise, maybe I'd be the hitting coach of the White Sox. But it's rough. You have to look at this as a whole and say the offense has really let this team down over and over again. And see just tonight. Another one of those great starts that seemingly would have been a great night at the ballpark for people. Had the offense, I don't know, I love fireworks. So if the offense provided a few extra fireworks for everybody to see.
Yeah, it was tough to watch. It really was. I mean, Cease has been and still is a Cy Young candidate, and this team just keeps letting him down over and over again. Gonzo, I want to pose a question to you before we get into our segmented portion of the show. We talk a little bit about Jake Berger the last couple weeks, and he continues to tear things up in AAA. Why is he not back on this team right now? I mean, I know we'll probably see him in the next week for September call-ups, but I mean, why is the guy that can hit a home run and will hit a home run rotting away in Charlotte?
I thought someone said that he tweaked his hand up again just over this past weekend. So I'd have to go deep dive for that, but that might be a reason why. I mean, if that's not the reason, then he definitely should be up. But then you got to play the game of options that is left on this roster, and something needs to be done because, I mean, I'm sure in the discussion with Tony is going to come up, but when it comes to pinch hitting right now, Tony has to say, all right, should I go with Sevi or Garcia? In any situation, you don't want either. I'd rather have Berger up. That makes that decision a lot easier. Who I want at the plate to give us a clutch hit. And we've seen a lot of clutch hits out of Berger this season as a pinch hitter.
For sure.
But I mean, to go back to the last discussion, when it comes to Frank, that's a guy whose philosophy is not wrong at all. You want to be hitting for contact. Contact leads to power. However, at the same time, you need to have a better approach at the plate with counts that is in your favor. I think if I remember right, Gavin Sheets had a 3-1 count, and you hear Steve Stone saying it right on TV, Gavin, look, fastball here, lay off of the curveball. And what does he do? He gets a curveball and he rolls over it into a ground out. It just goes to show you that the approach at the plate, it's the main issue with this offense. And you see that with chase rates at the lowest in the league for the Sox, and their walk rate as well goes to your approach at the plate. It's depressing and just flat out embarrassing because you need to, and if you know that your hitters are chasing, you just got to flat out, got to be, on them, on it, saying anything off speed, away, let it go, look for your pitch to drive, focus on it and go for it. I know like a lot of people are saying with Moncada is can't hit the fastball, but for the most part recently he's been getting a lot of off speed. So it's just you're seeing a lot of trends, and these guys continue just to be blindsided by it. If you go back to that first game, the Baltimore series with Both, we were so damn aggressive and going for that first pitch strike, even though throughout the game, if you realize that our hitters, the best pitch that they were hitting was anything but that first pitch strike. That second pitch strike was normally the one that you can get barreled on. So why are we being so aggressive and going after that first pitch strike? Like, it just drove me nuts watching it. If you're seeing it during the game, it's just frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And we saw some comments about Jake Berger, and he will be out for a few weeks with a non-displaced wrist fracture from a hit by pitch. But, it makes you wonder why he was down in the minors so long anyway, that given that he's been raking down there for a while. But unfortunate for Jake, obviously friend of the show and soon to be dad. So we're wishing him well in his recovery. But gentlemen, Tony, we have some segments on the show that we run through every single week. And the first one that we always do is we give our good old critique or praise for the old manager in a segment we like to call La Russa's Locker. All right. Well, we like to let the guest go first. If you want, Tony, it's totally up to you. But we like to talk a little bit about Tony, our thoughts on the week, anything specifically that stood out. There's a lot that can be said about the lineup yesterday. I'm just curious your thoughts on the last week of Tony La Russa. We could even get your season thoughts. I'm sure they're going to be entertaining.
I mean, I've got to say, you've picked a great guest to come on for this one. I'm a huge Tony La Russa guy. I love him. I mean, he follows me on Twitter. We follow each other. I wouldn't say we talk all the time, but I'm a big Tony guy. Being a Tony myself, it's awesome that a Tony gets to manage the Chicago White Sox. So, I generally like to just watch on Twitter and see the world burn with how much hate everybody has for Tony La Russa. I think it's a real nice thing that Jerry lets Tony, fulfill his lifetime dream. And I think it's this is just my personal take on it. I think that the White Sox players owe Tony La Russa an apology for not winning a ring for him in a Chicago White Sox uniform. I thought it was going to be, as I said before, I like things cinematic. This would have been cinematic end of Tony La Russa's baseball career. It's not working out that way. One thing that I just have to preface this with, I got a nice little White Sox quote book one year for Christmas, and I'm flipping through it. Oh man, that's the graphics kill me here. I'm flipping through it, and the one thing that they had a quote section from all the managers who've ever managed the White Sox, and one of them said, and this was back in his first tenure with the White Sox. It said, "All I want is a fair shake from the fans. That's the best thing that could happen to me." And I don't feel like he's really gotten a fair shake from a lot of people in this city. And that said, has he been right with every call this year? Absolutely not. I'm not right at my job ever. Like, if I can do a good thing once a week, I wish it counted like batting average. Hit 300 and we can make it through life. No, I don't think Tony's been right on everything, but in the grand scheme of things, we're White Sox fans. Like, I don't know how people aren't accustomed to this at this point, that you're going to have things that just don't go your way. Like, it should have been ingrained in you by the third season you were watching White Sox baseball, that things aren't going to go your way. And that's just how it is. So was Tony right this week or was he wrong? I have no idea. I'm just along for the ride. I was told to enjoy it.
I like it.
Brilliant. That was so good.
I have one thing to disagree with there. My third season of watching White Sox baseball was 2005. So
see, now you're bought in. Now you're bought in for life, Steven. And I mean, that's the worst thing. That's like going to the casino for the first time and winning your first or second hand of blackjack. You're just screwed, dude. You're screwed.
It's funny you say that. My first time going to casino, I came back with 1,000% net profit. So
That's how
I get
bad
hooked
things happen to
early.
people. Yeah.
I get hooked early, man, and I get in way too deep, and I end up watching a Tony La Russa led team for 2 years, convincing myself, hey, this could work out all right. And I don't know. It's been frustrating this whole season, and it's not just Tony, it's not just the players, it's everything. It's clearly just not working together. And that's what's so frustrating about it, is like it felt like they had all the pieces. They clearly didn't. This season feels so much like the 2019 Bears season. I mean, I've made that analogy before. I know Vinny has as well. And that just feels like where we're at. And it's like, can we avoid having the third year that happened with all that? Because I know last year was not fun for any Bears fan. So can we get out of this rut now? Maybe try to salvage some of this ship. This is where we need to take a good hard look at that front office and figure out what's working and what's not, because it's a bigger issue than Tony La Russa at this point. What Tony has or hasn't done well anymore is irrelevant. This segment, it was a really, really great idea when we first brought it on, because Tony La Russa was he still is. He's very much a polarizing figure for this team, but it's irrelevant at this point. This is mismanagement from the top down. It goes all the way down to the minor league team is doing all the things you want to see the big league team doing. Why is this minor league team that is supposedly so devoid of talent, according to every national sports writer, why are they doing so much better, analytically speaking? Why are they doing so much better than the big league club? So these are the things that they need to start taking a look at and really take a good hard look within the organization as a whole. That's my take on all this. I'm sorry to crap all over the segment, but
no, I appreciate it, man. Like I said, I kind of tend to agree with you, Zim. It feels like so much bigger than just Tony problem now. It's like take the whole thing and burn it to the ground and bring it and come back like the Phoenix next year.
It was fun last year, though. Last year, did Tony La Russa make the right pitching change in the bottom of the 6th inning? Let's talk about how angry we are that Aaron Bummer made a bad throw. Grr, it's all Tony's fault. And this year, it started like that. Now it's just oh, holy shit, what is happening here?
Yeah, it feels that way. Vinny, I know you have been as critical as anybody on Tony. We've heard you talk about Tony all year, and I'm just curious your thoughts on the whole big picture. It doesn't necessarily have to be Tony.
First of all, I want to pay tribute to this Tony, our Tony. That was a great little soliloquy there on your guy, Tony La Russa. That was awesome.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan of that. I'm going to go back and listen to that again later. That made me laugh. You are good, my friend. Yeah, I am with Zim. I the only opinion of mine that's changed about Tony La Russa in the last couple weeks is that I no longer believe that he is the main problem. I just think he is one of the many hard problems on this team. Like Sunday, when you have a chance to get the game tied in the 9th, and you pinch hit Leury Garcia, who's one of the worst hitters I've ever seen, for Sebi Zavala, who's been one of the only White Sox hitters hitting the ball in the last couple weeks on his birthday, no less. Everyone knows you do better at your job on your birthday.
That's right.
And I just couldn't understand that move. That was just one of the many strategic moves that will never make sense to me. But yeah, I mean, it's a flawed roster with a flawed head coach or a flawed manager. Sorry, football's getting on the mind. A very flawed manager who allows a flawed hitting coach to do what he does. Really, there's not much to be proud of for anybody above the player level. And I get critiqued for not giving enough blame to the players. Guess what? The players stink too. They've all had career worst years. They're all soft. They all sit for sore legs and all that sort of things. This guy's hurt this week. This guy's hurt next week. That's not Tony's fault. I've said that from day one. That's not Tony's fault. But the team as a whole has so many problems, and he's one of them. That's all I got. That's pretty much all I'm going to have on La Russa's locker for the rest of the season. I don't mean to spoil the show for anybody, but I mean, that's what it is at this point. Tony La Russa needs to go, along with many other people in the White Sox organization, including the owner, who forced him on all of us.
I just got to ask this for everybody else who's doing this. I don't know how long this segment lasts, but how mad is everybody going to be? I get really concerned when people get hashtag mad online. I've got a mad online meter. Like, it's right next to my desk, and I can gauge how White Sox Twitter is going to be. I just want to know how mad online you think everybody's going to be if he comes back next year. Because I'm really curious to see this.
I'm already banking on it.
When he comes back next year.
I will be stunned if he's not the manager of the Chicago White Sox next season.
Yeah.
Well, because I'm seeing all these people trying to float AJ Pierzynski next year. I'm seeing all of this. There's going to be people just placing blame in every direction at the conclusion of this season if the White Sox don't win the World Series. That's what we were told. That's what we were told. So there's going to be blame somewhere. La Russa's going to be it. Minacino, Rick Hahn, Jerry. I mean, we had to sell the team banner in the stadium this week. How mad are people going to be if there's really no productive change that people are asking for?
They're going to be very mad. I've written articles with suggestions of replacements, and I've included AJ just because I think a lot of my articles get taken as if that's like my necessary main opinion. No, that's really just to drive conversation. And I include AJ Pierzynski every now and then because I hear the noise that other people have about him being there. He was in the news lately because but a bunch of the 05 White Sox are in town this weekend celebrating what went on with the 2005 team, and he was there, so he's always going to come up. And people have told me that I trust that if they do miss the playoffs, he's going to elevate to a higher role in the organization, a player development, something, and not be the manager anymore. I just don't buy it, and I won't believe it till I see it. But you're right. People who aren't expecting it, people who believe he's going to be fired, are going to be very disappointed in hashtag mad online.
Yeah, the mad online is going to be wild. I'm sorry to cut you off, Joe, but there's buzz on tap in the comment section. Tony's guys representing down there. They bring up a very good point of Tony's greatest regret is letting Tony La Russa be fired in '86, not breaking up the championship Bulls. But people are going to be pissed, like when he broke up the championship Bulls. I would say that people will be more angry, because there's more of a platform now. I want to make this clear. It is relative to the time, but people will be more angry about Tony La Russa coming back than they will be about Michael Jordan retiring over Phil Jackson not.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Again, it's relative to the time period because we have the platform for it now that we didn't have back then, right? People were mad, but they got over it.
Double down. I agree with Steve. The fact of the matter is in the last 5 years, fans have gotten this platform called social media. So you hear this, you see this every day. If you want to see something about your sports team, all you have to do is open your phone and 2 clicks, and you get everybody else's opinion. You didn't have that back then. You didn't. So yes, people are going to be mad online.
Yeah, this is going to create a bigger firestorm than Cubs Twitter was in last year at the trade deadline. This is going to be a bigger rage storm than when the Rockies didn't trade Trevor Story and let him walk for free. I mean, this is going to be one of the biggest quote unquote mismanagements, but generally speaking, one of the least popular moves in the 21st century of baseball in the context of social media.
Yeah, and I think PZ brings up a good point here in the chat. Without a major rework of management, Jerry won't be able to give tickets away. I think that's a big thing that the White Sox actually have to think about here, right? A lot of people are going to give up their season tickets, myself included. I'm not going to pay to see these guys play next year, not with what they're doing right now. And if Brooks Boyer has anything to say about it, I'm sure he's going to say, hey, people don't want to come see Tony manage this team. I mean, no. Just playing devil's advocate here.
We're going to be back at the only thing that Cubs and White Sox fans will have to yell at each other about is Sox fans will yell at Cubs fans for being a bunch of drunks, and Cubs fans will yell at us because only 3,000 people show up to the games. And that's going to be the exciting baseball part of the city again, like it was back in 2017. Like, it sucked. Yeah. And that's what we're headed towards again, because neither one of these teams can manage themselves.
Sorry, Joe, I didn't mean to cut you
go
off
ahead.
there.
Go ahead,
I do think, Stephen, you bring up a point here. I don't think that happens within the next 2 or 3 years, because if you look at the trajectories of both of these clubs, just in my opinion, the Cubs, they've kind of committed that they're going to go try and bring some sort of magic back over there. And if you've watched them play a little bit over the down stretch of since basically the All-Star break here, they've had some fairly decent ball games. And from what I hear out of my Cubs on Tap guys, there's some exciting pieces and stuff there. I don't think Nick Madrigal's one of them. I don't know how you guys all feel about Nicky's Jew strikes, but I there was rumors just floating the other day. Don't be surprised to see them go try for Shohei Ohtani and try and bring some sort of free agent big name in that at least Cubs fans will probably have to rally around. You saw them go and grab Suzuki in the international market last offseason. I think the Cubs will try and make a splash. Korea's been a name that's floated around the Cubs realm for a couple of years now. So I think they're going to try and spend in that traditional fashion, which is why White Sox fans, us altogether, commiserate, is because we've never gone out and gotten that guy. But I think they'll try and
We've been at the table for that.
We have been at the table for that guy a bunch of times. But I don't know. Maybe Jerry doesn't want to pay those bills, so he leaves before the check comes. We've got to get to that point, though. Eventually, you would have to think. But in terms of what we're looking at with the White Sox over the next couple of years, if Tony La Russa isn't leaving and Rick Hahn isn't leaving, do you guys really think that he's gonna blow up this quarter? You're gonna get the same marketing campaigns. You have to hope for health. It's sad, but it's true. You've heard this cliche on Twitter over and over again. Just stay healthy, and they failed to do that this year. But they're gonna go bank on this exact same thing with a couple of tweaks. Look at the pieces that were brought in this year. AJ Pollock. You hoped and prayed that Tanner Banks and Jimmy Lambert were enough to get the job done here. Josh Harrison, those types of names. There's no way, at least in my opinion, they're going to go get one of those type of guys, like a real game changer this offseason, because you look at where we're at sitting in payroll right now, they're not going to go break bank for anybody, at least in my opinion, without majorly restructuring the way all of this works. You've got Jose Abreu, who I think a lot of people are in the camp of A, bring him back, and B, that just creates the same logjam issue. This is going to be the same thing next year, at least in my opinion. So I don't know if it's going to get to the point where we're at 2017 levels of, yelling back and forth at each other across the aisle. I think it's going to get even more heated than that, because the White Sox fans' discontent is going to be at an all-time high. And the Cubs fan, we're back trending towards a position of, prominence in baseball again. I think it's going to reach a little bit more of an apex.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you there, Tony. It's going to be a wild ride. I think we can all agree on that. And before we get out of this La Russa's Locker segment, Gonzo, I want to toss to you real quick to get your thoughts, and then we can wrap and get into the rest of the show. But Gonzo, I wanted to read this quote from Tony that came out the other day after Sunday's game and let you react to it. This is him on his feeling frustration after being swept by Arizona. No, I just get angry. I don't like frustration, discouragement. That's loser crap. Just seeps energy out of your body. I just get angry and want to do something about it. Gonzo.
Yeah, sorry you cut out there for a second, but that's probably the first time I hear actually some frustration out of Tony. And at some point, you got to do something. If there's anything I'm going to harp on Tony about that I see negative with him, it's there hasn't been a true approach with disciplining the players. He's been a true players coach, keeping everything behind the doors, never calling any of them out in public over the media. He's just a true player's coach, and at his age, it seems like he has other ways to handle that, but he needs to change something up. Maybe he's the only voice they hear in the locker room, and they're over it. So maybe he has to go to like a Miguel Cairo and say, "Hey, I need you to step up here and hear it from a different voice and get them going." I know. Actually, it's kind of funny. Last week, Mike North was talking about how there's no Cuban coaches in the coaching Zealand, but that's totally different, culture, Venezuela and Cuba. Just the differences of Latin cultures, but it could be a reason how you got no coaching staff, communicating well with these players. If 20% of your roster is Cuban and a good chunk of that is your core. But at the end of the day, I really don't think this is truly a Tony issue. I think you can win with him. However, I feel this is a lot of recency bias that everybody's leaning on here. It wasn't like a season ago when you had better offensive production, you had better defense, and you had a healthier pitching staff that you won 90-plus games. Now imagine what you could do if you actually had if you had continuity with your core. That's something that we haven't seen in this window. And it's something that is why you lost last season to the Houston Astros, a roster that has continuity, not only in the regular season, but the postseason. And they were hot going into the postseason, and you just got beat by a better team. Now, how do you get there? You're going to have to restructure your core because you're seeing why you can't just rely on potential. And health is really important. You can't just say if they're going to stay healthy. They have to show that to you, and you built this all on potential and health, and you need to start over here because you gave up your defense, rely on power bats that just wasn't there. And you got to do something with your core. I know that's something we'll talk about this offseason of how they can still contend next season just by retooling their core, because it can't happen. But you're going to have, and this is, I feel, is the strongest point here, is who's making these decisions and the management. Is that Kenny Williams or is that Rick Hahn? Because all along with Jerry here, it's been Kenny Williams whispering. So you're going to have to change something up high, and that's going to dwindle its way down. Now, I do believe in Tony, but if there is a change in the front office, I'm totally down with them bringing a new coach in for the long term to grow with this structure that they're going to go with. But at the end of the day, I believe in Tony, and ultimately, I just think there needs to be change above him. And it should have happened a long time ago.
Wow, Gonzo, that's the most off the cuff I think I've ever heard you, man. I'm excited about that. That makes me feel all warm and tingly inside. Yeah, look at you smile. I want to put you in my little pocket. Have a little Gonzo in my pocket. I'll never stop using. That's right. I'll never stop using that line. I'll probably use it every show now. I don't know about you guys, but that joke was a bit of a dud. And let's dive into this week's Adam Dud of the week.
You suck. You suck. Suck.
Stupid. Lousy. No excuse.
What a dud. What a total dud.
Yes, the Adam Dud segment. Tony, this is the part of the show where we pick one player, or a handful if you so choose, that really pooped the bed this week. And there's a lot to choose. If there's anyone that comes to mind, I can give you a second, or if you want to go first, you are welcome to. Tony, do you have any nominees for this week's Adam Dud of the week?
I mean, I don't want to steal the obvious one. I've got two duds of the week. I feel like Adam Engel is going to be a hot topic here. Just
that's fine. How did that? You can pick it.
How did that happen? How do you drop that ball? You've been terrible at the plate. Like, it's the Adam Dud of the week, but Adam Engel's right there. I couldn't believe my eyes watching him drop that ball the other day. Like, and he owned up to it. I'll give him credit there. I'm also gonna say this new catcher we have here. What's his name? Carlos Sanchez or Perez. Perez. Yeah. Perez, not a big Perez guy at all. It didn't look pretty behind the plate. There was a lot of hype there, didn't live up to it. I've got to shout my guy Johnny Nani out. He's done with the whole experience already, especially after he took Zach Collins' number as he entered the big leagues, just setting himself up for failure. So I'm going to go with both of those guys. Do you want a dud of the week?
Love it. Lots of duds to choose from. Vinnie Parise, who you got for your dud this week?
I'm going to take someone who I hate giving it to, but he had a bad start. And facts are facts. It's Johnny Cueto. Johnny Cueto has relied hard on this team. He's been their second best pitcher all season long. And I certainly was not mad at him by any means. I mean, he was due for a dud, right? Like, I'm pretty sure he's had 2 duds all season long, like where they were true duds, where he looked like garbage. It was that, and then his start against the Cubs back in May. And those were the 2 true. Like, there were a couple games where he gave up 3 or 4, but the offense kept pace. Maybe there was an error. This was a true dud where it's like, dude, Johnny Cueto just didn't look that good against the Arizona Diamondbacks, who clearly have a better approach to hitting than the White Sox do. So, like, you know, it pains me to say it, but it felt like more of a dud from Johnny Cueto because of where the White Sox are in the standings and what happened the night before with the Baltimore Orioles and all that sort of thing. I still, at the end of the day, though, love and appreciate Johnny Cueto for what he's done this season. It's the one good move Rick Hahn has made this season, and I'm a Johnny Cueto guy going forward. For the rest of the season, I'll have my faith in him, but it was a dud, no doubt.
Definitely a dud performance. No one's going to argue that. Steven Zimmerman, you got a dud for me?
Yeah, but I'm going to let you guys go first. I want to come up last because I think I got somebody that nobody else has.
I like it. Gonzo, what do you got?
With Makata going out, I was hoping I'd see Josh Harrison step up to the plate here, whether it be at third base or staying at second base. He just struggled this week, and especially with he was supposed to be the cream of the crop, icing to the cake for his signing over the offseason, and he still hasn't come even close to his, his numbers, his average numbers at least. It's a struggle, and it goes to show you that you can't just buy your ticket into the postseason with an icing of the cake like him. He's a guy that on a championship roster, he's your quality bench player, not a everyday player to get you to the postseason to enhance your lineup. He's a guy that you have to play with. You have to limit his innings to keep him fresh, and Tony's not allowed to do that because of how the season has gone ultimately. It's unfortunate, but hopefully Shohei can do his thing in this last month of baseball and get the boys back into it.
Yeah, no, I dig it, Gonzo. Great call out there. I'm going to go with the obvious. I'm not even going to put his stats up because he's just sucked balls all year. Joe Kelly has been freaking brutal. So you continue to be a dud every single week. And I was the guy who loved the signing when it happened. I was so happy about it. Now I'm eating my words real hard. So Joe Kelly, I'm not even going to give you credit for putting your stats up here because they're pretty brutal. No one should have to look at numbers like that. So I'm not going to make anybody look at them. So Joe Kelly, you're Adam Dud this week. Steven Zimmerman, who was the last guy you had that no one else has?
Well, it's funny because you all actually had him. My dud of the week is the entire freaking team. This team stunk it up all week. I am not narrowing it down to any one player. From top to bottom, from the owner down to the backup fourth string bullpen catcher. This team was terrible. End of discussion. There's nobody on this team that deserves to be praised this week. There's nobody on this team that performed well this week outside of the one guy who seems to perform well every time he's on the field. And we're completely wasting an absolutely magical season, bear in mind, from one particular player. But I have a feeling we'll talk about him more in the next segment. And so since I have no real Adam Dud, we'll just move right on to our Put It On the Board Players of the Week.
Ball hit deep. Way back. He looks up. You can put it on the board.
Yeah, so this one will be a little bit more fun of a segment because we can talk about some good stuff.
We'll talk about
although
one guy.
There's two or three, but there's definitely one.
My bad.
There's two, and then there's an honorable mention at three. But yeah, it was a pretty dumpster fire week. We'll let our guests go first. Tony, I'm sure you probably have at least one name of someone that really tore it up this week. But who you got for your put it on the board player of the week?
You know, I love Gavin Sheets, and I love what he does at the plate. This kid is just working so hard, and I'm a huge Gavin Sheets guy. He provided some fireworks. That home run that he hit the other night had runners on base. That's something that we don't get to see all the time. Gavin Sheets has just been an absolute gamer since he came back up at the plate from his stint down in Charlotte. He had a nice little timeout in Baltimore, and then he came back home and he continued that. I've got to say, man, you have a put it on the board section. Gavin Sheets seems to be the only one on the White Sox offense these days that knows how to put it on the board. So I'm going Gavin Sheets. He's my boy, by the way.
All day, yeah. Gavin Sheets, friend of the show, nice guy. Couldn't happen to a better guy. Him and Jake Berger, great dudes. But yeah, I mean, nice to see Gavin getting the stick hot, just like the playoffs last year. He's the only guy that was hitting during that time. So, Gavin, keep hitting, man. Maybe someone else will decide to hit around you. I don't know. All right, we knew Gavin was going to get brought up, and there's another name that I'm sure will inevitably be brought up, and I'll let Chris Gonzalez bring him up because if he could take a nap with this guy and spoon with him, he totally would.
Yeah, no, if I could spoon with Dylan Cease, that'd be amazing just to get some of that slider that he's got that's the best in the league. I hope that's a drop someday, but, you know, it is what it is. That's a guy that, we saw what happened versus Baltimore, but when you really need him in that third game versus Arizona, he did everything he possibly could. He went 8 innings. He used a little bit more of his fastball than in recent starts, and that happened to get him to 8 innings, which was, I believe it's the longest start of the season he's had. And 8 strikeouts to go with it. I mean,
I believe it was a career high.
Even better, career high. It's just amazing. You see a career high even with that at this point of the season, because I know a year ago you were hoping that like a guy like Carlos Rodon would have kept going down the stretch there. So the progression he made this year to go the full season than last season, you hope you would have seen that in a Sox sweater, so he would have got that contract he deserved here, but is what it is. But to go back to Cease, look, he put the position with the opportunity to win, and Engel had a flop that. Or not, that was the game before, but the bullpen blew it with Graveman throwing changeups right down the middle.
Isn't that sad that we can't remember which game was flubbed because they've all been flubbed?
Yeah, they've all been flubbed, and especially with the start like that, I mean, it's not the first time we've flubbed starts with great performances by Cease. It's happened too often in a season where he's fighting for the Cy Young. He was just remarkable in that stretch, and I can't wait to see more out of Cease down the stretch here. Hopefully maybe in San Diego where I can maybe watch him at the end of the month.
Yeah, there you go. That'd be cool. All right. There's really only one other name of someone who had a really nice week. Vinny brought him up earlier, so I will toss it over to Vinny. Vinny, who is your put it on the board player of the week that has not been mentioned yet?
Now I'm curious if we're thinking of the same person.
We are, perhaps.
Is it somebody who wears number 25?
No.
Yeah. Andrew Vaughn had a sneaky good week for the White Sox. He had a couple hits that drove in some runs. His OPS in his last 7 games is over 700. It's actually closer to 800 than 700, which is nice. His career OPS,
804 the last week.
Yeah, okay, exactly. 804. He's had a sneaky good week. He drives in run. I believe he now leads the White Sox in runs batted in, which is nice. He hit a home run, which is something the White Sox seem to be not allowed to do. I'm sure he got punishment, got hit in the booty with a spoon. Tony, I'm assuming you're Italian. You know about getting hit in the booty with the spoon, the wooden spoon. I'm sure that was his punishment for hitting a home run this week because we hit the ball on the ground, Andrew. But yeah, I think he had a really good week. I was going to pick Gavin, friend of the program. Love him. A good week at home in Baltimore, but I'm happy Tony was able to snag him up for this segment. But yeah, Andrew Vaughn, I really think he's turning into like one of those hitters that the White Sox are going to be able to rely on in the middle of their order for the next decade or so. Like, I truly believe that's his ceiling, is to be like what Jose Abreu was before Menachino showed up or when he was winning MVP. Like, I believe that can be Andrew Vaughn's ceiling, and he's really progressed well this season. On the year, 14 home runs, one short of Albert Pujols, 61 RBIs, 800 OPS. You'd like to see the RBI numbers climb a little bit. He had some games where he was batting like ninth. Like, that's not going to get the RBI job done. But once he's in the middle of a consistent lineup that has lineup continuity with a healthy Tim Anderson, and maybe Robert starts consistently staying healthy and hitting the ball better, you get Andrew Vaughn in the middle, and he's going to drive in those runs. The RBI numbers will climb. The home run numbers will climb. The OPS is where it is, and it'll be good for Andrew Vaughn.
Dude, Andrew Vaughn is the future of this franchise. I strongly believe that. And I did the White Sox charities like duffel bag thing from Charities Day earlier in the year. I got the mystery signed ball. It was an Andrew Vaughn. I'm pretty excited about that. That's kind of one thing to put on your mantle. And Andrew Vaughn is one of those guys that I think is going to be around for a long time. I hope so. I love what I've seen out of him, and the future is bright there. And before we wrap the segment, I'll toss it over to Steven Zimmerman for his Put It On The Board Player of the Week. Who is it, Zim?
I have a very unlikely Put It On The Board Player of the Week. It is a guy that I have crapped on consistently since he came to Chicago. But my Put It On The Board Player of the Week is Yasmani Grandal, who is crushing it in AAA. Let me tell you guys. You guys. He's got a home run. He's got a double. He's got 5 RBIs and 2 walks, as well as 3 runs scored this week. This guy's tearing it up in his rehab assignment. All right. All I got to say is AAA better look out, because when he comes back up, he's probably going to go right back down there if I got anything to say about it.
Man. Wow. That's not what I was expecting you to say at all.
Having fun playing baseball effect.
I got honorable mention of the catchers for you, Joe. Sebi Zavala for being high at the plate. And I'm going to shout out Carlos Perez for getting his first hit of his major league career.
Yes.
Even though defensively he was having it rough because Davis Martin was throwing the ball all over the place. And
he was struggling. He was kind of running a little bit.
How did Davis Martin not get brought up on the Adam Dudd?
I think we wanted to forget that.
Yeah, we might have wanted to forget
for him.
There were so many bad guys. It's where do you rank him? It's everyone sucked this week.
In reality, Sebi is seeing the ball very well. You can tell by that high walk total that he is really dialed in at the plate. You mentioned getting in trouble for hitting home runs. He might get in trouble for getting some walks here. So
can we talk about how he was real quick, Zim? Can we talk about how he was on base 10 times this week and he only scored once?
1 run. Yeah. That's story of the year for this team, man. Speaking of story of the year, just played in Colorado last night.
I like story of the year. His numbers were so good in the week, and his punishment was being pinch hit for Leury Garcia, who is always on top of hitting the ball right on the ground or swinging and missing. And, shout out to Leury Garcia for really showing Sebi Zavala how to put together a good at-bat and swinging at a 94-mile-an-hour pitch right down the middle and whiffing on it.
But speaking of Grandal and Zavala, like, Zavala's really actually doing a great job of filling that role that Grandal had, last season. He's been ass this year. I think it's fair to say. I don't even think I'm being a hater by saying that.
That's very fair. Very fair.
It's not been a good year for him, but Sebi has weirdly fallen really well into that little spot that, they carved out for that catcher. So don't be surprised, to see Yasmani DHing more, maybe not really behind the plate as much, seeing Sebi kind of get his crack at this. He's a little older, but usually catching prospects end up being older. So we'll see what happens.
Can we get Sebi to grow his beard back? That's all I want.
Yeah, he looks a little weird.
I think that's important. I think
beards are definitely important, especially for facial hair in general is important in Chicago sports.
That's right.
And see him go full shaven, it was weird. Sebby's actually the first White Sox player that I've interviewed. Great dude. I love seeing him get his shot up here. I think, Steve, what kind of bothers me about the thing that you just said about Yasmani Grandal getting more DH appearances is a guy like Andrew Vaughn, who probably needs to be your DH.
Yep. No, you're
Jose Abreu back. So, yeah,
it's what you mentioned before, where we are going to end up creating the White Sox are going to end up creating a logjam for all of us to watch for another year because of this Grandal, Abreu, Sheets, Vaughn, Savala rotation that we've now got between these various positions that those guys all play, but they all end up DHing at some point or another because of it. And
I'm a big Eloy should be the DH guy.
Eloy should be, yes. He should not be in the field, that's for sure. That's a whole other thing.
I would rather see Andrew Vaughn out in left field than Eloy.
Or Eloy DHs. Vaughn goes to first. You sign Abreu on a very bargain deal to be your replacement first base DH because he's going to struggle for the first 2 months of the season. So
a bargain deal for one of the best players in White Sox history.
He's going to have a bargain. He'll do a hometown discount.
You know what's really crappy is like you could,
for whatever the price is.
You could slap Jose Abreu in the face with the shittiest deal you've ever seen, and he would take it. He wants to be here that bad.
There is no way.
There's definitely a way. Especially him coming from Cuba, the amount of money he's already made. Whatever he's going to get out of this deal is well worth his happiness.
Dude, as a White Sox fan, don't you want to see Jose Abreu get paid? I know I do.
I want to see him. Don't get me wrong. You don't do it to him out of respect. You don't do it to him because that's not what he deserves. You don't do it to him because of the bad juju it brings down upon you. All right. However,
with the cap for next season too,
you could. That's all I'm saying.
But there's a lot of money going to be spent, and you got to get him for the bargain price of hometown discount. And then the catcher situation, you DFA Grandal, you trade for Sean Murphy of the Oakland A's.
See, this is where I would jump in and say you're not going to DFA Grandal. The White Sox have already had a long history with bringing guys on and then DFAing them. I mean, look at what they're doing and tearing up some of these relationships with agents. You've got Dallas Keuchel. You've had Yonder Alonso. You've had some of these big names who've come into this organization. And what's one thing that we've always talked about? We have this seat at the table. Well, guess what? Sometimes you have to pay your price in the market. And it seems like every time somebody comes here and the White Sox are stuck between a rock and a hard place, you start DFAing a bunch of these guys. They don't want to do business with you anymore because the risk that it carries for these guys, like if you go and DFA Yasmani Grandal, that's a bad move because that's your highest paid contract that you've given out as an organization. You have to save face somehow. There's a reason why he's back down over in Charlotte right now, playing with the Knights when they thought that they could have him back here. He's not the hot hand. They're trying to get themselves their wins right now to stay in this thing. He's not the answer at the plate. So you want to give him at bats. You want to keep him consistent, but DFAing him over the offseason, Jerry's going to have to eat that money either way. It's going to cause issues with everything else that you're trying to do. And these players run in circles, whether it's their agents or their friends or family or whoever it is that they become close with, guys that they train with, all of that other good stuff that happens in human life. But I don't foresee them DFAing Yasmani Grandal and then just all of a sudden ponying up another 18-20 mil of annual salary spend on somebody else that's going to come fix the problem. That's why I come back to the whole pray for health thing, and it starts to get to a depressing cycle.
But I said trade for Sean Murphy on the table.
We hear you, Gonzo, and
that contract is not something that's going to eat up a lot of money.
The thing,
and if you're going to win the championship, does Grandal do that for you right now?
One thing I do want to piggyback on Tony with
injuries.
Tony mentions the guys that run in circles, and you don't want to piss off the agents. Well, what's the one thing that runs deep through this Sox organization? What's the one connection that they kind of have? Why do we bring Phil on once a year to talk to us? Because there's a very, very deep Cuban connection in this organization, and that runs deep for these guys. And you DFA your highest paid guy of that runs in that circle, like that's not a good look. And on top of it, if you go and you try to get a bargain deal for Abreu on top of it, well, now you just cost one guy a bunch of money, and then you insulted another one with a lowball offer. Well, that's not a good look. And guys like Moncada and Robert and Colas and Cespedes and these other guys that you're trying to attract to this organization, you know, PZ in the chat earlier made a comment about you have to have something to attract these free agents to you, right? Well, pissing off a bunch of them is not going to help them want to come to you. It's going to make them look and say, well, that's a business. I want to go to Philadelphia. They look like they're having fun playing baseball. I don't want to go to the blue tie White Sox, you know, or the black tie White Sox, excuse me, got to get all done up and go put on a song and dance for the owner to make myself look good. And he's just going to cut me as soon as I don't look good. Like, it's a really tough game, you know, bordering the business side with the baseball side. And I don't know. I think we're stuck with Grandal until he decides he's done, personally.
So then
I'm sorry to cut you off there, Joe.
Why did they DFA Keuchel then?
Because he sucks.
Same thing with Grandal right now.
But
Grandal's making so much more money.
Their salaries were serious.
Yeah,
I thought they were pretty close.
18 million.
Yeah, they were both around 18 million. I think the difference on Dallas Keuchel there is you had a guy who came into and this is all pure speculation, but I'm going off of what I heard from Liam Hendricks on, I believe it was 670 The Score. I'm going off of previous incidents that took place within the dugout that have been reverberated out to people within the White Sox community, is that Dallas Keuchel was not great for this White Sox organization. You can go back to last year and look at examples of where that relationship was soured, and it starts with him being left off of that playoff roster. And I don't think that it got any healthier through the offseason and into this year. And when you've got a guy that's that washed, that wasn't part of your playoff picture plans as they should be. And even if you can make the argument right now that Yasmani Grandal isn't there, I think it holds more weight because of the relationships that you talk about with guys like Abreu, Moncada, Robert. They obviously wanted to have a strong core and foundation for guys like, including Eloy Jimenez, amongst the other two names of two real veteran guys that they felt that they can come in here, relate to them, teach them the ropes, grow the team. It was, I mean, you look back, it was tremendous work by Rick Hahn to go bring in Grandal on that aspect of it. Also going and getting him the most money out of anybody that's ever signed in a White Sox uniform. The fact of the matter is it hasn't worked out, and that's largely because of some injuries. So do you want to go have the story of Yasmani Grandal be the injuries cut him down and the White Sox abandoned him when he was dealing with health issues? Like, that's not something that's going to go, as we just saw in the comments, entice anybody to come here. In fact, there was some stuff out there from Ryan Burr earlier this year where he was let go right before requiring surgery again.
Oh, yeah.
They've done that a couple of times. You can only walk that line so far before it comes back to start to bite you. And if you do it with such a high profile person, I think they're smart enough not to do that.
I agree with you, Tony. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, like, you made a great point about like the locker room cancer type of stuff. I think you're spot on. Liam Hendricks, they asked him like, hey, was it a bearded fellow you were talking about? He goes, I'm not going to go into it, but it was so obvious who he was talking about. But I also think there's a baseball side of things too, right? Dallas Keuchel stunk. Yasmani Grandal stinks. Keuchel started to stink, and the statistics support it, that it was right around the time the sticky stuff start happening. Giolito and CeCe each had a start or two where they struggled following it, but they got it back, right? And the one thing the White Sox have had consistently good most of this season is pitching. The only pitchers that have really like kind of, Giolito's had some bad starts, but he's still not like the worst thing you've ever seen. Ruiz has been on and off at times, but for the most part, the pitching's been okay. Every hitter has sucked. Grandal might be every single hitter has failed to meet expectations this season, and he is one of them. He might be failing a little bit worse than everybody else, him and Moncada, but if there was a guy between Dallas Keuchel and Yasmani Grandal that you can see a coaching change or a approach change or a mechanics change help them, it's Grandal over Keuchel any day of the week, and you hope it just happens to everybody else as well.
And I just want to add here that you might not I only said DFA because in the long picture, I was trying to, in my mind, I'm hoping that they can make a trade for Sean Murphy, and maybe they can include Grandal in that deal so you can eat up some money there. But you're going to have to give up some bigger prospects in that package. But at the same time, if the A's don't want to accept that for Grandal, I'm more than happy to DFA him to bring in that player in Sean Murphy, younger and just all around better defensively, and as a left-handed bat guy that can run too. Because your biggest thing with Grandal is his on base percentage, but it's great if you can get on base, but then to run on the bases is another story. And Yaz cannot run right now.
No,
and it's not going to get better with this.
I stand by it. I want to see a foot race between Yasmani Grandal and Paul Konerko. I want to see that happen.
At the end of the day, if this is truly your championship window, you're going to go over it. You need to do the best thing going forward here. You can't rely on the guy just because you paid him a big contract. I get the whole clubhouse thing with Keuchel. Great, but that's not why I brought Keuchel up. I bought for the contract and for his production, which wasn't being met to go with his toxic nature in the clubhouse. Because granted, he was being toxic before, calling out everybody when he was sucking. And he continued to do that while he was sucking, and then they finally got rid of him. They did it a lot later than I wanted them to. I was hoping that they would have got rid of him last offseason in a trade of some sort. But they didn't. Han didn't really do anything in the offseason. Just did some icing on the cake moves. But again, we've talked about that before. And we need to go to my favorite segment coming up here, White Sox Weekly.
All right, Gonzo, let's break it down real quick. 2 big series coming up this week. Royals, Twins. Let's keep it short and sweet, but long story short, the White Sox, they got to get it together.
Absolutely, Joe. This is White Sox Weekly presented by yours truly, Gonzo here. And the White Sox do, in fact, have a 3-game series versus the Kansas City Royals. Divisional games matter, even though Royals aren't in contention here. Like I said, division games matter here. And Sox have 3 games at home, and then they wrap it up this weekend also. It's actually a 6-game stretch here at home, but it's going to be the second half of it versus the more important division series games here with the Minnesota Twins. And to go back to that first series, you're going to have the Tuesday start of game 1, which is going to be likely Brad Singer versus Lucas Giolito. Shout out to my dad. It's his birthday tomorrow. He's going to be at the game with my mother. So shout out to you, Dad. Hopefully the Sox can win the game for you. Game 2. And hopefully Lucas keeps on going with his pitching. He needs the uttermost progression that he can make on this final stretch here as he goes here. Game 2, Lance Lynn versus Bubic. We've seen a lot of Singer and Bubic over the years. Hopefully they can figure it out here. Game 3 is going to be, looks like undecided at the moment for the Royals, but Cueto for the Sox. To go with the next series here, it's going to be game 1 of likely Sonny Gray versus, at the moment, Davis Martin. That looks disgusting if I've ever seen a matchup. These are the projected.
Yeah, it does.
They might change it up going in that series, but I hope they do because the projected absolutely sucks. Because Cease goes on Saturday and there's nothing projected for Minnesota yet. And Sunday, of course, would be Lucas with a second start. versus potentially Dylan Bundy. A lot of these could be interchangeable on that second series. I hope it is, in fact, because Cease needs to be bumped up a day just to go up, start that series off, in my opinion. But yeah, the second series is going to be interesting. Like, again, Minnesota, Brian Buxton's doing amazing things this season with Minnesota. And when he's healthy, he's just uttermost beast. Kansas City.
He is.
Bobby Witt Jr., hell of a rookie. Kid's on fire. Those are bats to watch out for. And that is the White Sox Weekly presented to you.
Awesome, Gonzo. Appreciate it, bud. Now we get to go to the Pick to Click segment. Gonzo has won yet again by picking Dylan Cease last week. At this point, I probably have to crown Gonzo because he's got like a 6-game lead on everybody else. But we'll keep tabs on it soon enough. But Gonzo, that means you get first pick this week. Who are you going to go with for this week's Pick to Click?
Well, obviously I'm not going to pick Dylan Cease with just one starter of the week. I'm going to go with Mr. Eloy Jimenez. I like what I'm seeing out of Eloy. And hopefully with the stretch at home here, he can get going and light it up. So Eloy. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Wave to him at the game tomorrow for me.
Happy birthday, Gonzo's dad. Awesome. Nice pick, Gonzo. We'll let our guest go. Tony, if you had to make a pick to click for the week coming up, who you going with and why?
I have to do these things daily on my show, guys, so it's a lot harder to keep track of. But I just want to let you guys know it's awesome that you guys don't have like the actual stats because we don't either. We lost it somewhere in like May, and then we also say that we're going to keep track of them someday too. So on my end, I've got to go with my boy Gavin Sheets. He's been doing it at home all year. I'd like to see him match and exceed the home run totals from last year. I will also be in attendance at tomorrow's ball game, hoping he's in the lineup. I love fireworks. I want to see more Gavin Sheets fireworks, so I'll take my boy Gavin.
Love it. Love it. Gavin, stay hot, baby. Vinny, I'll let you go next. Vinny, who you got for your pick to click?
I'm going to piggyback off of Tony. When I think of Gavin Sheets, I think of the other power hitter in the lineup, Andrew Vaughn. I think he is supposed to be a power hitter, I guess I should say. Need more power from everyone, but I have a feeling Andrew Vaughn's going to have a pretty big week, and hopefully he brings it home.
All right, I love it. I love it. Steven Zimmerman. What do you got, buddy?
Dude, I don't even know anymore. Like, these guys all are just so streaky, and you don't know who's going to catch it when. I mean, I want to pick Yaz, but like, I highly doubt he's back in the lineup by this time next week. So, I don't know.
Get his AAA stats.
Hang on. Flip a coin.
Heads.
It says it's heads, so I'm gonna go with Moncada.
Wow, that's bold.
If Moncada gets hit in the head this week, I'm quitting.
It's your fault.
I'm dead serious. I'm gone.
I just want to see him wear white cleats because that's when he was doing the most.
Yeah, these yellow cleats don't seem to be working for him.
Well, he'll get a hit in 3 straight games with the yellow one. Then he'll go 0-4 with his golden sombrero. Then he'll wear the white ones and get a hit. Wear those for 3 games, suck. Then he'll wear red ones like Eloy or pink ones, get a hit in 2 straight games. Then go 5 without getting one in the pink cleats. Then he'll wear white for another 2, suck in those as well. Just go back to yellow.
There you go.
You guys want to know who Tails was?
Who?
Who's got a big booty on the White Sox? Lance Lynn.
No. Tails would have been Zavala.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, it's fine. I'm
not gonna win either way. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of how I feel, but I'm in desperate need of a win. I don't think I've gotten a win since like week 3 of the season. So I'm gonna go with the guy getting 2 starts this week. I'm gonna go with Lucas Giolito. So, we'll see what happens. I got to roll the dice a little bit. Maybe for some reason he'll just be elite again, Lucas Alito. But These are the picks to click for the week. Always fun stuff. We'll keep track of it. And I'm sure I'll find the stats at some point, but I know Gonzo's got a big lead. So it would take a massive upset for Gonzo not to win again this year. So we'll keep on track chugging, but lots of baseball to watch this week. So we've gotten to the last segment of the show. This is our debate, or you can call it a debate. You can call it a heated conversation, whatever you want to call it. It's what we call this week's Guaranteed Take.
Yay!
Yeah, so I try to think out of the box with this week's Guaranteed Take, guys, and put something that might be a little bit of fun. And I just kind of came up with, in the grand scheme of things, regardless of what happens this season, what moment will the 2022 White Sox season be remembered for? There's a handful of them already, and there's still a lot of baseball left. But Gonzo looks like he's deep in thought. Look at that. I don't even know if he's still on this planet. Gonzo, do you have an answer for me? No, all right. Well, all right. Well, I guess I'll start. This is kind of sad, but I think this season's probably going to be remembered for Tony La Russa taking a nap in the dugout. I mean,
the GIF will live forever. The GIF will live forever. If there's a bad White Sox game in 2030, someone will quote tweet the final score with the GIF of Tony La Russa falling asleep. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's gonna be, at least right now, that's like, if you had to put the season into like one moment, it's Tony taking a nap.
I'm ready.
But Vinny's ready. I'm just gonna go ahead and pass it to him. Vinny, what do you got?
The day that I believe I started to feel nervous about the Chicago White Sox, like, okay, this is just a little more than a slump, was, I want to say, I don't even know what month it was. It was either May or June. We were doing this show on a Monday night, and White Sox were absolutely destroying the Cleveland Guardians. It really wasn't going to be close. And then Mr. Mandel signed off by saying, "Let's go, White Sox. We're coming at you next week with a big win after tonight."
Yeah, when Joe jinxed the game. Yeah.
And then Josh Naylor hit a game-tying home run, I believe, was it? And then he hit the go-ahead home run in the extra innings. He was the Josh Naylor game. From that point on, the White Sox were not the same. I think there was a point where they lost 9 in a row. I don't know if that was part of it or not. Actually, I'm pretty sure that game ended it was the day after Father's Day. It ended like a 6-game winning streak that the White Sox were on. And it would have been like 7 in a row. The White Sox were back, baby. They were back, baby. 2021.
It's still the longest streak they had.
Exactly. And then to this day, they never truly recovered from the Josh Naylor game. That was this season in a nutshell.
Yeah.
What I really hate about that game?
Yeah, everything.
Is like, I kind of like Josh Naylor. And I hate to say it. It sounds dirty coming out of my mouth. But
you want horrible news?
He's a hard-nosed player,
I got bad news for you.
What's up?
There's another one on the way. The number 5 prospect in the Cleveland Guardians organization is Josh Naylor's brother.
I like those hard-nosed, like down and dirty, like get it done players, like Hunter Pence type guys. And Naylor feels that way to me. And I hate it. I hate it.
While we're talking about this, I think I have to play that Put On Your Socks with the video of me basically jinxing the Sox just for comedic purposes.
And before you do, I want everyone watching this to keep an eye on Zim, and Gonzo's face, knowing just how bad Joseph Mandel screwed that night, this season, and maybe next season too.
Yeah, it's my fault. So here, take a look. So for all of us, we're wishing you a great evening and enjoy this White Sox win. They're up 8-2 in the bottom of the eighth, barring a total collapse, which if this happens, then I'm going to kick myself. But let's go, White Sox. Let's sweep the Guardians, and let's go kick some Yankee ass this week. Let's go, White Sox. Let's do it. See you next week.
Yesterday, the Chicago White Sox blew it to the Cleveland Guardians. They were winning 8-2 in the top of the ninth inning, and they blew it. They allowed them to score 6 runs. 6. They had the game in the bag. It would have been their 7th straight win and really would have carried them into a big week with some momentum, and they blew it. They got to the 11th inning because they scored a couple runs in extra innings. Everything that happened in extra innings was stupid. Even if they would have won, it would have been BS because you do not lose games that you're winning 8-2 in the 9th inning. That's a joke. That is a complete joke. I don't even know what to say. Yeah, they play later today. Lucas Giolito on the mound. Whatever. They need to respond to this game and respond big because that is not Chicago White Sox baseball. That is a joke. I cannot believe that they let that happen. Just complete and utter horrid play late in the game. Defensive errors, bad at-bats, everything bad. Bad, bad, bad. I was so pissed off. I look like a fool in that video. I mean, I look worse than you.
That video comes up. Oh man, I forgot how immediate the reactions were to Joe saying that. I mean, you see him say that, my eyes immediately dart up to him on the screen. And Vinny's just like shaking his head in the corner.
And when they lose badly, I try not to record "Put on your socks" right when the game's over because that's when you're a fan more than like a level-headed like podcaster, reporter, whatever you want to say. I got on that mic the second the game was over. I was, this team blew it. And, oh my god, that was so funny. That's honestly the highlight of the season too, in a funny way.
Yeah, that's we've had some interesting ones so far. Tony, I don't know if you've had a moment to think, especially after watching that ridiculous video, but what is the highlight or what
Tony,
will this season
go
down?
I feel like me and you might be even on one.
See, I'm trying to figure out where you're at with this one, Chris, but there's been a couple of them, and
I'll give you a hint.
I mean, to me, if you're flashing 3, I'm thinking about some sends that were made this season.
I'm thinking about one play that ended in 3 outs.
Oh man! Play
versus the Minnesota
Twins.
Oh, yeah, I had buried that.
That was bad. That was bad. But there was a couple of and it's not even just the Yasmani Grandal one, but for me, like on repeat is just so many different times Super Joe waving the arm around at third base.
Brutal.
We talked about Frank Menachino. We talked about a bunch of different. There's been more often than not with this White Sox team. There's been contentious debate amongst the fans as to whether or not the send home was the right call or not. And I just feel like for as long as I've watched baseball, there's never been that many contentious sends this year. And I think it kind of just overlaps over and over again. I hate to pin it on one guy here, but that triple play that you bring up, Chris, is obviously one of them. I'm hoping, though, guys, that the reason or the moment that the 2022 White Sox are remembered for hasn't even happened yet because we got a month left of baseball to play. That's what I'm going to hold in my heart as I watch the rest of the season. But, the Astros series really, really killed me because you had the first 2 in the bag, and then the last 2 games of that series, you couldn't get one win across. And I feel like had they taken 3 or 4 there, we'd be talking a lot differently on the show tonight, and maybe carried some momentum. But it's been a 1 step forward, 2 step back all year, and I felt like that was kind of the plateau, right? Those 2 wins against the Astros, and then failing to take the back end of that series was kind of the crucial moment for me overall. That was a chance for us to make some sort of statement, and they failed to do so in the back half of the series. I know that's not an exact moment, but I would say right in between those two games is where I'm going to continue to look back to unless things change.
That's a great call out, Tony. This team, it's been frustrating. There's been a lot of moments that can be chosen here. And I guess part of the reason I made this the segment here today is that it kind of felt to me like, I don't know why, it just kind of felt like it was the end of the season, just the way that this team is just falling apart. But I know it's not. I hope it's not, and we can see what can happen the rest of the way. Gonzo, are you going with the triple play for your moment?
Yeah, because I mean, when I say it's been on the players this whole season, I truly mean it. And a lot of facets of the game that they're just between leaving runners on base, their defense, even with the pitching staff and the injuries they've had, and it's just been frustrating. But when you have a lead against, or no, I think they were down. I think there was a tied game actually. I think they just tied it up versus Minnesota with no one out. I think guys at first and second, I think it was, and that fly ball that they thought it was gonna be a gapper, and I think it was Buxton went and grabbed it and just made that triple play happen. And it just goes to show you how your players are with baseball IQ even on the base paths. Because you've seen something similar in Toronto with the tag up from Danny Mendick getting thrown out at second base when you could have had the winning run there. It's just frustrating all around. And for me, that triple play kind of sums it up versus the team that you were chasing.
Yeah, no, that's brutal. Zim, to round out this segment, what moment will the 2022 season be remembered for?
This team will be remembered very similarly to the 2011 team. That's what I think about this. You guys remember anything about the 2011 season?
Oh yeah,
that was all in, right? That was the all in year?
That was the year that we were hyped up beyond all belief, and the White Sox finished 4 games under 500. That is exactly the trajectory I think we're headed for this season. It's going to be a team full of hype just to fall completely flat and make us all go. I can't tell you a single thing that happened that year aside from all in. People are going to go, remember the 2022 team? No, change the game. Change the game.
Yeah, change
just like we do in 2011. Give me an honest, tell me an honest memory you have from the 2011 team. Can you name any?
Did AJ Pierzynski come as a visitor for the first time? Maybe.
No, Pierzynski was still on the team.
He was not. Oh no, that's right. That's right. I remember him catching Chris Sale in the red jerseys in 2012.
Yep.
That's right.
He was in the marketing campaign for All In. I remember.
Yeah, that's right. I do remember.
You remember the marketing campaign? Tell me a game that you remember, man.
None. I remember the marketing campaign. That's it. That's all I remember.
That team was terrible. It featured such star power as Alex Rios, Adam Dunn, Brent Morrill. What a joke.
Alex Rios landed the White Sox Leury Garcia.
Oh man. We better be thanking that guy.
Gonzo, really quick, was the triple play game on 4th of July? I'd want to say it was, but I
think it was.
I think so. Wrong. But for some, I know the play vividly. I'll never forget it. That answers Zim's question, actually. I'll remember that game where they had the triple play on 4th of July. I'm 90% sure it was 4th of July, though, if I remember it all correctly.
But,
I think I was on a break at work, and it just sent me back onto my shift, and I'm just like, what the hell?
What about the Cascade concert? We're missing the obvious. We're missing the obvious answer. The Cascade concert that got marketed for 6 months and was the greatest time and inspired the White Sox to go on a 3-game or 4-game winning streak. I think that was a highlight for a lot of people.
Yeah. And then when Cascade started taking credit for their win streak, they started to suck again.
Yep.
Now
I'm trying to think of some other moments. I mean, outside of times that I've had at the ballpark, there's been a lot of very forgettable games. But if I'm trying to find like a high point in the season, there's not a lot. I would say it probably goes back to the 2 games against Houston. But there's been a lot of games that just have the same story. I do think though that this team will be remembered by White Sox fans as the team that was able to load the bases so many times and not be able to drive in runs.
I hope they're remembered for something, but I mean, I honestly don't even think we'll remember that. I think 10 years down the line, we'll go, remember the 2022 team? And we'll go, no.
Yeah, it's funny because one of two things can happen with this White Sox team. They're either going to go down as probably the most frustrating White Sox team in the history of the organization, or they're going to turn it around, make the playoffs, make a deep playoff run, and be considered one of the greatest teams and stories in franchise history. And if they finish like 85 and what would that be? 85 and 80? Or no, I'm very bad at math. 85 and 78. That would be like a really strong finish. They still might miss the playoffs. That would be like the 5th greatest record they've had in the last 25 years. So it's memorable on that front. Like Tony said, they're going into September playing games that kind of mean something. Like half the league is going into September getting ready for next season already. That's not the White Sox yet. Like
me personally, it would be, I mean, I've said it back in April, and I truly felt that Cease is going to be the ace of the staff, but I never thought I would see it like this. Like how devastating that slider is.
This could be the Cease breakout year, and that'll be about. But I'm pretty sure 2011 was the Sale breakout year. Just to argue my point a little further here, I'm pretty sure that was the Chris Sale breakout year.
Yeah, I think that was the first year he wasn't a reliever anymore.
Yeah.
And then in 2012, when they wore those red jerseys on Sundays, that's when people were like, okay, Chris Sale is.
Yeah. That was when people like really woke up to him. Which, I guess if you want to make that point, then last year would have been the year that Dylan Cease kind of put people on notice. And this is the year where we've all opened our eyes and gone, we got something with this dude.
Absolutely.
Hey, maybe they'll trade him for like a number 2 starter and a third baseman somewhere down the line, and we'll all be ecstatic about that.
Oh no.
I mean, I just remember like earlier in the spring just being on Ray's Spaces, and I'm telling Eric and those guys, like, hey, just watch Cease go here. He's gonna prove everybody wrong.
Yeah, Gonzalez been banging the drum all year.
I said it a year ago with Vaughn. I'm like, this guy, give him the at-bats, let him go, let him progress. I'm going to say it for Garrett Crochet when he comes back. He's a guy to keep your eye on, especially if they're going to do the same development, putting him at least in the 5 spot of the rotation, allow him to develop. If you can go into 24 and your 3 pitchers are Cease, Kopech, and Crochet, those are 3 prominent arms that you can have.
I mean, Gonzo, you couldn't have said it better. Speaking of letting things progress, we've reached the tail end of our show. And before we get out of here, of course, we want to give a huge thank you to our guest, Tony from White Sox, from Sox on Tap. Tony, we cannot thank you enough. Before we let you get out of here, we'll have to give a couple final thoughts, and then you can let everyone know, first off, where they can listen to you, where they can find you on social media, and everything else you got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. But first, guys, thank you for having me on here. It's awesome to get to talk White Sox more. I love doing it, and it was a pleasure to get to hear some different opinions. It's just awesome. I love all the different opinions that come in about this team, what the direction is, where it's going, and I really appreciate you guys letting me come on these airwaves and talk White Sox baseball with you. Some final thoughts on the White Sox. I've said it. I think Vinny kind of echoed it a little bit here. This team is either going to be one of the least remembered, least favorable White Sox teams that you've watched in your life, or they're going to make it completely memorable because they've put themselves in the position where it's either going to be a great run to the finish or they're going to go out in flames. It's kind of one or the other here. We're still playing meaningful baseball. I think that's what makes everybody still kind of interested in this and talking about it so passionately. And I love that. Hopefully, for all of our sakes, maybe they go and put on some magical run. I'm not going to sit here and hold my breath and think that it's actually going to happen, but to be in that kind of conversation still at this point in time, it's, I guess, pretty cool as a baseball fan. I mean, I did a show yesterday with an Arizona Diamondbacks diehard, and he was talking about how, he goes on their Reddit, their Twitter, and they're talking about we're 10 games back. All we need to do is go on a run, and how different it is to be a White Sox fan right now in this particular spot we're in. You're 6 games back. You're in the weakest division. I think you got the 4th easiest schedule, and none of this means anything to us because we've been beat down all year. But to just take that and put it in perspective a little bit, I think it's, for all intents and purposes, not as bad as we might really think it is. On the other hand, we've been beaten down all year.
Tony, it's the end of the world.
It might be the end of the world, but guess what? The greatest part, Steve, is that next year I get to turn on the television and watch White Sox baseball again and go on this whole entire journey over and over again. It's a new season of the same shit show that you've watched over and over again. And sometimes, just like 2005, Steve, this, you can strike gold every now and then. But thank you guys for having me on. You can find us at Sox On Tap. We're on after pretty much every single White Sox game, about 15 to 30 minutes after. We do a post-game show. We do extended shows on Sundays. You can follow us at Sox On Tap, myself at Tony On Tap, and follow our website and everything that we're doing on Twitter at On Tap Sportsnet. We cover everything from the Sox to the Bulls, the Bears. I'll mention the Cubs at some point, Blackhawks, all that good stuff. We have fun over there. We like to drink. We like to talk about sports. We like to crack them. And
That's right.
Thanks, guys. I enjoyed the show.
Well, appreciate you joining us, Tony. If you guys haven't given them a follow and Sox On Tap, make sure you do. Check out their work. It's all great stuff. Tony, we cannot thank you enough. And let's be honest. Hopefully we can crack one later in the season at a playoff game if all falls the right way.
Absolutely, gents. I'd love nothing more.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks again for joining us, and we will be in touch soon, my friend.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks.
All right,
Thank
take
you,
care,
Tony.
Tony. Thank you. All right, guys. Great guest. Tony Marchese, of course, from Sox On Tap. Great stuff. We got to the tail end of the show. We're going to get through the good old-fashioned shout-outs, and then we're going to measly up. We're going to get out of here. Whatever it is, I can't talk. Chris Gonzalez, I'll let you lead things off, buddy.
Yeah, I'm going to shout out my first and foremost, the love of my life, Soraya. She's continuing to do amazing things, and I can't wait to see what's ahead of us. Lots to come. Got to shout out my mother. She came to visit me this past weekend, and I had to show her around San Diego. I thought it'd be more touristy, but it ended up being a really pure out food binge out here with her. And I just ate and ate and ate, and I had a lot of off days lately, so I got to enjoy that and enjoy the moment with her because we only have one mother in our life, and I'm trying to make the most out of it every shot I get because I know I have to with the sacrifice I give in my normal life. I had to take every moment to enjoy those moments with her. And again, she flew. I dropped her off at the airport before I jumped on here. So she's flying home, and she'll be with my dad for his birthday tomorrow at the game. Shout out to my dad as well. I'm gonna shout out 2 more people. I'm gonna shout out, of course, Tony for being able to come on with us. He's a guy that reached out to me actually on the Twitter space. He actually backed me. I had a keyboard warrior on Twitter like a month ago, and I hardly get into any debates on Twitter, especially if I'm the one that gets sorted out by these warriors. And then Tony reached out saying he appreciated how I handled everything. Shout out to you, Tony. And then last but not least, Ray the Barber. He called us out and we represented ourselves in the fantasy football draft of theirs. And Joe did a great job of doing the drafting, and I was representing us talking the shittiest of shit in the audio chat of it. So we were out here, and we had a great draft. Looking forward to how that goes. And last but not least is y'all. Thank you for keeping me sane, and I am enjoying the second season that we have together, and lots more to come. And it's only going to get better and better.
No doubt about that, buddy. Appreciate it, Zim, Gonzo. Jeez, I can't even. I'm ready passing it off to the next person before I finish my thoughts on the last one. All right,
that new deadline's hitting you pretty hard there, bud.
I'm making it work. Buddy. But Gonzo, thank you, bud. Steven Zimmerman, what do you got for shout outs?
Man, I got all kinds of shout outs for a change. Shout out to Tony for joining us. That was awesome having him on. He is, I think it's fair to say, welcome back whenever. That was a great time with him. He brought up some really interesting points that I hadn't really considered as well. Always great to have an outside perspective come in, join the show flow, like they've been here the whole time, and present some counterpoints that really make us think differently than we normally do with just the four of us. So much appreciated having him. Shout out to who do I put this to? I don't know. Shout out to the Zuck for making an awesome Facebook marketplace. Shout out to A-Drive as well. A-Drive is you've heard me talk about the Pokemon streamers that I follow many times in the past, who occasionally do drop in and watch us here despite not being Sox fans, because it is an awesome community over there, and I will support them through and through. But A-Drive ran a giveaway that turned into me getting a Nintendo Switch that through Facebook Marketplace we turned into a Oculus for the family. And low-key just kind of want to flex on the fact that I've got an Oculus right now, but at the same time I want to thank the wonderful people that made it an awesome exchange, whether they're listening or not. Probably not. I dropped names, but and again, shout out to the awesome community on Pokemon Twitch that without that, none of this would have been possible. And lastly, through that Pokemon community, I found a new little sports card community that has been absolutely awesome to indulge myself with. And through which I've gotten a couple little things here that I want to show off. Little Eloy Jimenez and Andrew Vaughn autographed cards. In addition to a Jake Berger card that I've got on the way. That one's a little more sentimental than the other two for reasons that I'm sure you gents can relate to. That is one card that will be in my collection until the end of time. But Cheek and Dom's Awesome Card Shop is officially their name. If you're interested, you can always look them up. You can join their breaks. They do shipping, I believe. And in addition to that, it's just a cool place to go and see some cool cards and maybe buy some stuff if you're a collector. But at any rate, I've been introduced to the world of sports cards and other sports memorabilia through them. And it's been a really cool journey. It's been really fun getting involved with that, learning about these interesting sets that exist and getting my hands on some autographs. So like I said, I know I was a little long-winded, a lot more so than I normally am during this section, but hey, as long as I'm at it, a shout out to, shout out to my oldest who started school in the last few weeks, and his schoolwork is looking fantastic. I'm glad he did not have that summer slack that a lot of us have. A shout out to my youngest, who is getting like 4 teeth all at once and just miserable because of it, but he's walking and trying to talk and just having the best time in his second year of school and life. And a shout out to my wonderful partner, Brittany. We are getting closer and closer to our wedding date, which is right around the beginning of next baseball season. So we'll see how that works out. But in the meantime, shout out to you guys for having me on board for this awesome show that we get to do. I know I haven't been as present as I have been last year, at least. But life gets busy when you have kids. I'm sure, Joe, you relate to that more than the other two, considering, you have kids and they don't. But that's it. I am going to cut myself off there. Like I said, I've been long-winded enough, but it's been an eventful week. What can I say? It's been really, really cool getting involved in all of this stuff. Tony was just such an awesome guest that I had to make sure to point that out. So, Joe, back to you.
Great stuff, buddy. Thanks, Tim. Vinnie Parise, shout out time. What do you got, bud?
Wow, it's hard to follow up, Zim. That was awesome. Holy shnikes, that was good stuff. It's going to be hard to follow that up, but of course, it's always my number one. Katie, my girlfriend, I love you. Thank you for the support always. Mom, Dad, Joey, you guys are my number one supporters, the four of you, and I couldn't love any of you more than I could if I tried. And I also want to give a shout out to Aldo Gandia, Joe Mandel, Steven Zimmerman, Chris Gonzalez, Frankie Mueller, Joey Parise. Those are the 6 people that I work with the most at the Barroom Network, I would say. And of course, the rest of the Barroom Network's fantastic, but I definitely work with you 6 the most out of anybody, and I'm extremely gracious and proud and excited about all that. We got big things coming up in the future. And I would also like to give a little shout out to the Vite family who invited me to their White Sox tailgate this week. And we had a great time, even though the White Sox lost a tough one to the Arizona Diamondbacks. But we got these giveaway hats that I'm very excited about. It's good quality. The White Sox, they own these giveaways. And I had a great time at the tailgate. Delicious food, awesome times, good people. So to Mr. Vite and Amy, and of course, Katie, thank you very much for including me. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully the White Sox get better sometime soon.
Vinny, did you try the Euros nachos?
Okay, so I said I was going to, and I talked a big game about how I was going to go try Euro nachos. I'm going to hope to get to one more game this season.
Wow.
We ate a lot of food at the tailgate. They brought a grill.
Boo.
And they were making like these delicious steak sandwiches and pork chop sandwiches with homemade horsey sauce. So I wasn't turning that down. And by the time I got in the ballpark, I was like, I'm just going to go in hungry next time and get these freaking nachos.
Vinny, I'm not doubting that the food was delicious. You always have room for Euro nachos.
I know. You know what I'm going to try to do, Zim? I want to kind of do this one time before the season's over, and I know I'm running out of time. I want to go to a day game where I know it's going to be kind of like dead in there. Like maybe mid-September, maybe there's a
Wednesday afternoon game.
Yeah. And go for a 1:10 game. Maybe I'll even be by myself because everybody else that I love is at work, like normal people during that time. And I'm going to try and do that. I want to go and eat the food and see what I can do as far as getting a seat closer than I actually pay for.
Dude, it's really easy if you go down to that Leinenkugel Craft Cave or Craft Lounge or whatever it's called. I mean, I went to a game last season. I don't even know where the seats were because I spent the entire time down in the Leinenkugel's Craft Lodge.
Yeah, and shout out to Jerry Reinsdorf. This will be the only time you ever hear me do that. They stopped checking people at the entrance of the 100 level. So once you enter the gate, you go. And this is probably not the same on on Elvis night. They were definitely checking, right? But when I was there on Saturday, they did not have a second usher checking tickets at the beginning of the 100 level. So if you paid for a $5 500 level ticket, you were able to go sit in the 100 level free of charge. So maybe I'll buy a $5 300 level seat and see what I can do. I kind of want to try it at least once the rest of the season.
Give it your best Simon Wilson impression and try to sneak your way into wherever you can get into.
Exactly. I'm always sticking my nose where it don't belong. So
I like it. Good stuff, Vinny. Great shout outs, everybody. Of course, great shout out to our guest today. Tony was a beast. Great time all around. So Tony, thank you. Make sure you go follow Sox on Tap and Tony on Tap. Sorry, I can't talk. Of course, as I always shout out my beautiful wife, Catherine, our baby girl, Audrey, and my Great Dane, Maverick. I love you all very much. Special shout out to my Uncle Joey. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday. And I also want to shout out my in-laws. We sold our house in Illinois last week officially, and we are living with the in-laws until the end of September. So huge shout out for them to offer their house to us and to let us stay here until we close on the new place. So thank you for doing that. We are very much appreciate it and love you guys. And we're ready for the next journey in the new house. So that's where I fall with the shout outs. And of course, all you guys, Vinny, Zim, Gonzo, appreciate you guys being able to do this every single week. And lastly, I have to talk about some of the great shows in the network. Football season is coming up. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. You've got Greg Gabriel talking football. You're going to have Mike North talking gambling. You're going to have Fantasy Football Goon every single Sunday. What was that, Vinny?
And Mitchell Trubisky.
And yes, and his buddy Mitchell Trubisky. And of course, you got the Barfly Tailgate Boys. There's Bear Necessities. There's so many great shows on the network. You got Bear Football. The list just goes on and on. So make sure you subscribe. Check out all the great shows. Dan and All Bear Their Souls coming up tomorrow. I believe, as far as I know, they're all those back tomorrow. We'll see. But just great shows. Of course, Vinny's got Bar Down. He's got Crosstown Crosstalk. Those shows aren't going away. Shout out to the guys before us, the AA team. This was their last video show. They will be going to the audio format and making some changes moving forward. But we always appreciate following you guys every week. And that's all I got, boys. So we got to the tail end of the show. Great stuff tonight. Ton of fun. Might be the first show in a long time, under 2 hours. So we're going to run with it, take it to the bank. And hopefully the White Sox can take it to the bank. It's been a brutal stretch here. Time to turn it around. Who knows? Maybe we'll be in a totally different position next week, guys. I certainly hope so. With that said.
Oh, Joe, you're so funny.
Yeah, no, I'm hilarious. What can I say? But for the South Burbs Hitmen, I'm Joe Mandel. That's Steven Zimmerman with Vinnie Parise and Chris Gonzalez. I will see you guys next week. Who knows what's going to happen? Let's go win some ball games. See you later.